dear me. Oh dear me. How things have changed. How I have changed. I should have never believed it possible.
Rot. Silly rot. Idiots! Where's the world coming up? Oh, I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. I thought I was quite alone.
You were referring to the dancing.
Quite right, quite right. My word is preposterous, isn't it?
You mean so unconventional?
That's hardly the word for it. Yes, hardly the word for it.
These coming out parties are not at all what they used to be.
Coming out? Coming out. My word, nobody seems to be in these days.
The young ladies? I mean the young ladies.
Exactly, yes. The young ladies. My word, there doesn't seem much for them to be coming out of. Egad. They seem to be all arms and legs, limbs.
Won't you sit down, Colonel?
General, madam, general.
Oh, pardon my mistake. Colonel. Oh, yes, we were speaking of the dancing. You know, the world runs so fast it hardly catches up with itself.
Yeah, the world running away with itself.
You know, it was different when we were young, and, you know, we must be tolerant. We are old people now.
Old, madam? I beg your pardon. No, not old. Not really. Middle-aged, perhaps. Yes, middle-aged. But not old.
Yes, that's it. Middle-aged.
There goes that unspeakable music. That infernal racket. It's like the tom-toms one hears in Africa. Much worse, in fact. Off. I dare say you're all right. Quite right. How times do change. We seem to be going backward rather than forward. But we must accept the facts.
Unfortunately.
You know, I had hoped that... I had hoped, when I accepted the invitation for this ball tonight, that I would find something even remotely of my youth. But upon my words, they've even done over the house.
Oh, you've been here before?
Yes.
May I ask?
Yes, in this house. And in this hall. What have I to?
You see, I know this house quite well, and nothing has about it changed. Nothing.
Nothing changed. Really? Seems changed. Yeah, seems quite changed. Perhaps it is I who have changed.
Perhaps when one is old.
Old, madam? Old?
When one is middle-aged.
Middle-aged. Well, I'm in the prime of my life. Just in the prime. Don't feel a day over 20. Not a day. Why at the War Office, they still call me Richard.
Richard?
Yes. And at the East Indian United Service, they call me Dick. Not to my face, mind you, but they do call me Dick.
East Indian United Service Club. May I ask?
Oh, yes, of course. No, so you see, like, you know, I'm not so old. But I have done a great deal being in the time of Her Majesty's service. It was 42 years ago tomorrow that I went out, and I've seen service. My word, for a young chap, I have seen service.
42 years. 42 years ago?
Yes, quite right. And as I was saying, I was hoping to find something of my youth here. Some of the old corners, nooks, faces. Some of the old familiar faces. One in particular.
Then you...
Oh, yes. I suppose every youngster is until he gets sense. Oh, I was very much in love at the time. Couldn't live without her. She was a snappy little thing. Clever. Pretty. Very pretty. As I recall, blue eyes and golden hair. that sort of girl.
And you forgot her when you left?
Yes, yes, quite. You know, life in the service is very strenuous, you know, when... Besides, there's hunting and polo and all that sort of thing.
And married someone else?
Now! Oh, I beg your pardon. No. I never married. Hadn't the time, matter of fact.
And the young lady?
I dare say she is the mother of a very large family now. Oh, how times do change. As I was saying, like, I was very much in love at the time. But, the family, her family, you understand, rather objected to me. So I broke off the whole affair. I joined the Indian service and been quite content. Quite.
And you haven't tried to see the young lady since you've returned to England?
See her? See her? No. That would be rather embarrassing for the both of us. You see, we were practically engaged at the time. That is, I hadn't come down to ask him.
But you went away and left and...
I wouldn't say left her. As I recall, I believe I did ask her to marry me.
And she refused.
See, did she refuse? Oh, I remember. She said that we would need to think it over very carefully. Yes, her exact words. Very carefully. I remember how she scrunched up her little nose and...
So that is...
Mind you, it was a nice little nose.
And did you think it over carefully? Very carefully?
Not at all. I was a bit of a wild dog in those days, as most young men, you understand. My pride was hurt, and I was a very proud fellow. Of course, I did expect her to fall into my arms and we'd live happily ever after. That is, not in my arms, of course, but,
As your wife, I understand.
As my wife? Oh, yes.
You were a romantic youth.
Very, very exceedingly so. I believe I must have been reading dis-released novels at the times. Rubbish.
But you lost all trace of the young lady.
Yeah, quite so. Yeah, life in the service does get very lonely at times, when the hunting season is off, especially.
But what about the times?
Oh, the times. Actually, well, I was just a conceited young ass now, but yes, in the time, I was reading the Times, the one several years afterwards, that Anne.
And?
Yes, Anne. Pretty name, isn't it? I was always quite fond of that name. As I was saying, I was reading at the Times that Anne and her father went down to Florence. Since then, nothing.
And so, your romance ended?
Yes, quite so. It ended.
You never married?
No, not at the time. Although I did think of it from now and then. Not often, but every now and then. Oh, I did need someone to take care of me, though. Someone to...
You've outgrown that need.
Yes, quite. My man is very capable. Quite. There goes that infernal music again.
Why, it's a waltz. Oh, what happy days those were. I too could dance and sing and...
Did you? Really?
Yes, in this very house, 42 years ago.
42 years ago. So long ago as that?
Is it so long ago?
42 years. 42 years. I dare say we might have known each other then.
Perhaps.
Do you know, I believe I did not catch your name. Awfully stupid of me, awfully. You know, I have the pleasure of, just...
Yes, perhaps we did know each other then, and perhaps we didn't.
And you've lived in England ever since?
No, after you. I've left England a great deal ago. Although I do have a small villa in Florence.
Do you really? Delightful place, Florence.
Yes, but it can be quite lonely at times.
Is it really? I always thought of it as quite gay. Oh, that goes to show how mistaken one can be.
Yes. Yes.
And I suppose you have your children about you and all that sort of thing?
No, I never married.
That's a bit unusual, isn't it?
Is it?
And I suppose you never will.
No. No.
You know, just those unspeakable music again.
Yes, perhaps we better join the company, Colonel or General Farrington.
General Sir Richard Barrett.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
And may I know to whom I'm indebted for such a pleasant little evening? May I know to whom I've been speaking to?
Why, yes. I am Lady Anne Travis.
Lady Anne Travis. Not Lady Anne Travis of...
Yes, Sir Richard.
Oh, my word. God bless my soul. Anne Travis. Anne Travis. I might have noticed you the moment I saw you, but then again, my sight isn't as good as it used to be. Anne Travis. And to think, after all these years and in this very house.
Yes, Richard.
Anne, you said you never married.
No, never married.
And when you said we need to think it over very carefully, you really meant?
Yes, I really meant it.
Well, isn't that just like a woman? Isn't that just like a woman?
Is it?
My, what happy days those were.
What happy days.
My word. Is that the waltz they're playing?
Yes. Waltz.
Anne, will you finish this waltz with me?
Yes, Richard.
Thank you to Christiana back there with all the music and sound.
Yeah.